So I've been getting this request, Dennis, that people are talking about sexual harassment. Now, there's a very popular case in Pakistan where 2017, a very well-known lady, she's also well-known probably in your part of the world because she got an Oscar or two, something like that. And her sister went to a hospital, and the doctor who treated her or checked her later on maybe went to her Facebook and added her as a friend. So this celeb sister screamed foul, and she said sexual harassment and voyeurism, whatever, and this doctor was probably at that time at least he was fired. Later on maybe he was reinstated, I don't know, but there was a very divided opinion. A lot of women were saying well done, but I think a lot of people, including myself, was saying when you put your pictures out with a public setting on Facebook, someone's gonna look them up, and someone will like them. That's why those pictures exist. And somebody could send you a friend request. It's not a crime. That was my opinion. But then the sexual harassment proponents, or sexual harassment, not proponents, but sexual harassment lobby would say, what the heck is this? So I want to take this on tonight, but interestingly, two parts of the world. In my part of the world, sexual harassment does not really have legal protection. It does, but not really have legal protection. Okay. When your part of the world, the legal protection could be over the top. And I've been working with, in America, not with Americans or in an American environment for, I would say, about 25 years. And I've seen this thing evolve over the past 25 years. There was a time when you could say a lot of stuff, chick, babe, honey. And there was a time when, it was very common to have Pirelli calendars hanging in offices. Yes. And slowly that converted into this is not on, this is not legal, this is not okay. It's it's violating my rights and sexual harassment. There was a time when you could touch another person, just completely platonically, but now you can't even get within 2 feet of the person you touch, and it's like sexual harassment. So we're going to have to take this from two complete different perspectives. On my side, there's no legal recourse. There are other ways of dealing with it, name and shame, slap, kick, and whatever. In your part of the world, everything is a legal matter. So what's your take on it, man?
Well, I think it's very over here in the United States. It's very complex. It's almost the topic is very much like an onion, and it's once you peel back this layer and then other layers, just things seem to come out and come out and come out, and so it's a very tricky situation over here. I think in some ways I think what happens a lot of times, and I just want to come out and say this, is I think that sometimes something that gets labeled as sexual harassment or harassment. So in the United States, we have basically 3 categories. One is hostile work environment, the other is harassment, and then the third is sexual harassment. If you are harassing or you are sexually harassing, you are creating a hostile work environment. So regardless of what you're doing, you are creating a hostile work environment. And so hostile work environment ends up becoming the catch-all bucket, and I personally listen. I don't get to make rules as far as legal definitions and terms. Hostile work environment. I don't know that I agree with that term. I think it's inappropriate workplace conduct in many cases, and so I just want to it's complex. What I see happening in many cases is almost a version of comfort level complacency that ends up taking place. So over here in the United States, and I won't speak to any other part of the world because I know culturally, like maybe sexually inappropriate jokes, clothing, the way that we dress, and so forth is a little bit different. And I don't know. I was actually thinking maybe it kind of lends itself to some of this workplace harassment. And so the complacency that I talk about is just that we get comfortable where we work, and so we might not be, even though we're making an inappropriate comment that is sexual in nature, it isn't necessarily meaning that I want to have sex with you. There is some sort of quid pro quo. So over in the U.S., sexual harassment is typically, it's not just unwelcome comments, but there's typically a quid pro quo that goes along with the topic. So it's very complex. However, I will just come out and say, nobody deserves to go to work and be made to feel uncomfortable. I can tell you, I've never gone to work looking for sex or other people to like proposition me for sex. What are your thoughts, FQ?
Well, I want clarity on two things you said.
Yeah.
One, nobody goes to work to feel uncomfortable. Agree, but I want more clarity on what is uncomfortable. And the other one you said, inappropriate attire can lead to that. That I don't agree with, and because though I live in a part of the world where culturally no means yes, which I think is a completely absolute F up. Our popular culture promotes no to be yes. There's even a very popular line which says, an Eastern woman, in her silence is her acceptance or affirmation. Like, no, in her silence it's not affirmation. Yes means yes, no means no, silence means nothing.
Right.
For me, it's just the way I am. I'm not from my culture, from your culture. For me, no basically means no under any circumstance.
Right. And so you asked.
And yes means yes. If you want something, you bloody say it clearly. You say yes. If you say no, I'm not going to assume it's yes, and I'm not going to ask you a second time.
Right.
So inappropriate dress, you could be butt naked walking on the street. That's your problem. That doesn't allow anybody to intrude in your space. Or you were walking naked, so you were fair
Sure.
game. I don't think that
let me clarify, because that is not what I meant. I think people can wear whatever they want. I am simply saying that culturally, I think the United States culture. Because at the end of the day, we'll talk about this in another episode. But every time summertime rolls around in the United States, one of the things I always see is a picture of like a 3-year-old female child at the beach wearing a bikini bathing suit, and then there's always this conversation about whether or not that's too sexy. Why are we looking at a 3-year-old as sexy in the first place? Like, it's a bathing suit. So I'm just simply saying that when you cover more, I'm not saying anybody deserves to be touched. You can walk down the street butt naked, like you said. I don't have the right to touch you. That's taking away agency from somebody else. And walking down naked, I mean, that's on somebody else. So I'm just simply saying, I think culturally, we have, in the United States, we have split hairs. We have played semantics with terms and definitions that have lent itself to this challenge that we're really seeing in the workplace. So you ask me, what is uncomfortable? What would constitute that? Let me just show you this kind of stuff right here. So in the United States, you send this type of a statement to your coworker, you're fired. And here's the deal: if somebody sent this to me, I don't care. I'd actually kind of laugh. Hey, DT, you're a dick. You suck. You're correct. So I don't have a problem with that. But now for Zain Ijaz or whoever that is, now you know what? You just set yourself up, because here's what I can do, Zain, is I can take and report this comment right to Facebook, and now I can screw with you. I can screw with you because you made yourself vulnerable. So why do we do this in the first place? That's really the question.
You raised the point about a 3-year-old in a bathing suit and somebody saying that's too sexy. Now, I think we've talked about this before in one of the episodes. Sexy is again a relative word.
Sure.
It's not a person's nudity. I know we're completely digressing from sexual harassment, but maybe we'll kind of go around and reach it again. Sexy is not in your appearance. Sexy is in what you do with your appearance. Under no circumstances is a 3-year-old child being sexy. A 3-year-old child, God forbid, could be naked, but a 3-year-old child just cannot be sexy, because sexy is in your action and your behavior.
Correct.
And when you talk about nudity, and I've said this before in one of my shows, one of our shows, I think, the first time I left the country was 1980, 81, 82, and the first time I was on a Lufthansa flight with my dad, and I got Der Spiegel, the newspaper. I look at it, front page, there's a half-page picture of a woman coming out of water with the boobs hanging out. And I was like, what the hell is that? So I come to America, spent 4 years, and I realized Americans are really conservative. That kind of shit doesn't happen.
Right.
So some years later, now, so my early years, I get that same conservative way of thinking from the American pop culture, American way of thinking, because that was my early exposure. And then when I went travel around the world, I end up in Germany and I realize they've got posters of butt-naked women on the street and advertising, and it's perfectly all right. Nobody thinks it's sexy.
Right.
You go to South Africa. South African newspapers have butt-naked women on the front page. It's not sexy at all. That's a naked woman doing whatever, selling whatever. Sexy is in your attitude and your behavior. So if somebody thinks that content is sexy, there's something very wrong with that sick mind. So I want to come back full circle to sexual harassment.
Yep.
It's a tricky one. Depends on what is actually happening. Now, in your environment, I know a lot of environments where men and women would be sitting together and they would be making sexual innuendos at each other. Not directly at each other, but in a conversation. You'd be making dirty jokes, you'd be having conversation, would have innuendo, wink, wink, nudge, nudge kind of shit. And then suddenly somebody would say, oh, you just crossed a line. Where is that line?
There it is. There's the big question. And I mean, listen, I'm just going to say, like, to me, this makes it very, very easy. When you're sitting at home or you're conversing with people, in your social circle, the boundaries get determined by the social circle. What I'm going to say is, culturally or not, however it's looked at, unless you are a sex worker. So unless you are a sex worker, I have a basic belief. Nobody is looking to go to work and be sexed up. I don't think women are taking and dressing a certain way to be sexy or provocative in the workplace. I think they're dressing the way that they choose to dress. And I do see some comments here. That are talking about the way that a woman dresses and it's her choice. 100% agree. Not disputing that at all. I think the workplace makes this very easy. Talk about work. Talk about work. Talk about the work product. Talk about the way that you can improve professional performance. I just don't understand why sex has to come into this, or other than it gets a chuckle, it gets a tee hee hee, and that sort of thing. But all it takes at work, like in your social circle, you do this. You cross a line, someone might punch you in the mouth, someone might not come to your next dinner party. So be it. At work in the United States, if you cross this line, you can set yourself up for 100% professional demise. 100%. There will be no coming back. If you are in the C-suite, you have chief or executive in your title at all, and you get through this, you get accused of this, there is no coming back.
Oh yeah, an accusation in that context can really screw you up for a long, long time. But I am somebody who is still questioning sexual harassment in both parts of the world. Now, I know we're not doing comments here, but I'm going to build on a comment Khushbu just made.
Yeah.
But before I say that, you said unless you're a sex worker, you don't go to work to sex up. But maybe you do. And
perhaps.
If you do, perhaps you do, and that's all right. And if you dress provocatively, now dressing. There was this woman 2 days ago who was offloaded from a flight for the way she was dressed, and the whole internet was making hoo-ha about it.
Okay.
Maybe she was wearing, a baby doll or whatever. It was inappropriate for the situation.
There it is.
Okay?
Uh-huh.
So if you're going to work and you work as a fashion agency, you could wear certain clothes, dress a certain way. You could wear stilettos and whatever. You can get away with it. If you're working at a East Village bar, you could dress a certain way. If you're working at Hooters, you could dress a certain way.
There you go. Correct.
The only time you actually set you up for a sexual connection with another person is when you mutually consent to it.
Yes.
It doesn't matter how, but at times, yes, maybe you do go to work for a little fun on the side, which is fine. Do it mutual understanding. You're adults. That is your problem. But my problem is when two things happen. When the perpetrator gets really out of line, like somebody said, Donald Trump, and that is absolutely uncalled for, but a position in power takes advantage of that. He's untouchable or she's untouchable.
Right.
And on the other side, when both parties were testing waters, slowly raising the bar, and suddenly one person says, foul, you're screwed. That I think is very unfair.
Yeah, and here in the U.S., what I'll say is, and even outside of the workplace, one of the things that get heavily debated, and it's actually been debated, because nothing in the U.S. ever, there's no resolution until the court, till a judge. We always have to take things to the referee instead of letting common sense prevail. So we take everything to the judge. Well, what's actually been taken there is when consent can be taken away. And so now we're in a situation here in the United States, and this has happened. It's been litigated of, well, I had consent. Now we're 5 minutes into sex. We're 5 minutes into a sexual encounter, and one of the parties can go, I no longer consent. And it's just, I think we're trying to deny biology in some of this. I'm not saying, if somebody says no, that's what that means. I think we've gotten a little bit out of hand where this is concerned. And I think it's at least in the U.S., as an HR consultant and an investigator, I can tell you, like, these things, these concepts overlap, and they get very, very, very confusing and convoluted very quickly.
No, but I'm even okay with that situation. You could be 5 minutes and say, well, I've changed my mind. That's perfectly all right. Just don't call it rape.
Okay. Right. But again, we're talking about the words that we're using. Still.
No, it's important. You can say that you are in, things are moving, everything's going on, and suddenly you say, nah, I don't like it no more, I want out. Okay, out.
Right.
No is your safe word. Out is out. But if you go out and say, I was harassed, I was raped, that's not cool.
And what I'm saying about putting, saying no, say no anytime, I'm just simply saying we all have an obligation in this to where it's like, you know what, why am I putting myself in this position in the first place? Let's give this a little bit more thought before we just engage in these type of relationships. Listen, in your social circle, that is not that's very personal. I'm specifically talking about in the workplace. And in the workplace, we should not be taking and looking at our employee, especially if we are the boss. We should not be looking at our employees from a sexuality type of perspective. They are there to do a job. Anytime we look at somebody that is in a sexual way, in my opinion, what we're doing is we're diminishing. We're diminishing their intelligence. We're diminishing their professional abilities and reducing them to a sexual object. Take that out of work. That's my position on this. This other stuff of when no means no and yes means I don't know. At work, it's always no. It makes it very, very easy. So for me, how do I conduct myself in my personal life? I conduct it like a business, because then I stay out of trouble.
Okay, Khushbu's got some fantastic comments. Khushbu, just hold the thought, and I want to come to that in a second. But I want to do a bit more here. Personally, I'm a very flirty person, flirtatious. And for me, flirtation has no sexual connotation. Flirtation just basically means, you know what? If you look at our communication, I think that many times I flirt with you. We've said I love yous to each other. What does that mean? Now, so what I'm saying is, it's not, for me, flirtation means being nice to somebody. Saying something nice, giving a compliment, speaking nicely. But in 2020, for the past 5, 6, 7 odd years, I've noticed that flirtation has been completely misunderstood and has become, it's some really, really nasty, evil thing, and you were sexual. There's nothing sexual about it. If I call you sweetheart, there's nothing sexual about it, for God's sake. I call my nieces and children around me and my friends wives, they're all sweethearts and honeys. That does not mean I am going to grope you. That does not mean that, I'm trying to get in your knickers. It does not mean any of that. But the thing is, the society is slowly shifting that meaning. So when society shifts its meaning, then of course I have to shift what I say, because I'm not going to say something which the other person can, here's the thing, not misunderstand or misconstrue, but somebody could misuse. That's become a problem. Now, I have a public profile, and I have this huge dilemma that my namesake is the hottest thing in this country. So without fail, I constantly get messages from chicks who send their pictures and they want to hook up with him until they find out I am not him. And they're like, oh, sorry, we got the wrong person, Qureshi.
Yeah. And,
Okay? But I see it from his perspective, and he's a good man, married, children, everything. He's a good, and we always sharing notes. He gets my political threats, and I get his chicks messaging. As recently as last night, this girl messaged me from my page. Hey, you can message me. And I'm like, message you about what? And she goes, we can meet. I'm like, why would we meet? There's Corona out there. And then she goes, why I haven't seen any of your plays lately. I'm like, shit, it's not for me again. All right? So, but is that sexual harassment? If a man was to send a message to a woman, that would be like, ugh. But I see these endless women messaging me thinking him. Why is that not sexual harassment, man?
Listen, I think it applies both ways. I personally think it applies both ways. And I just want to say one thing to a comment that you made about like that you're flirty and flirtatious or however. And only on this topic in this, I'm going to just simply say, because I hear this a lot when I am conducting a human resources investigation, and harassment is a big one. One of the things I hear a lot is I didn't do this. I think it's a misunderstanding. I hear that from the person, the accused. This is just a big misunderstanding. And I'm just going to come out and say things change. So I think that the misunderstanding comes from what you personally think is appropriate. So it changes. Society changes. Society determines what is harassment, what is not harassment. And society determines when consent can be given and when consent can be given away. So I think that this comes down to something very, very simple. Instead, take the sexuality out of the workplace and focus on professional respect. Focus on professional respect. Organizations have a dress code. The dress code is there for a reason, and it needs to be adhered to. Every time we start making exceptions, and I'll just say this from a legal perspective in the United States, all we've done is focused on exceptions, and this is why we end up having such convoluted laws where this is concerned. Well, but it doesn't say I can't do this. So for an example I have. So I've been very open about, my journey into the C-suite came as as an HR director. My journey came through being a union officer. So I ended up dealing with so many personnel issues. And once I became a chief officer and I was the director of human resources, one of the things that I ended up dealing with was I had a firefighter that decided it was appropriate to when the work was done, take their shirt off. Listen, like on a construction site here in the U.S., in my state, it's hot. People work without a shirt. That's not uncommon. However, we were not construction workers. We were not construction workers. We had a different context. And so this individual took their shirt off, and not only took their shirt off, but then decided to stand there and swing it above their head and touch themselves in a creepy way with the free hand. So here's what ended up happening from that FQ. I said, I got the complaint. I said, hey, we got to investigate this complaint that this was happening. The union got involved, or the employee representative got involved. The next thing I know, we're talking about, well, the policy doesn't say you can't do that. I'm like, really? We're going to play semantics here? Like, this is really what we're going to do? Here's the sexual harassment. Here's harassment. Here's inappropriate workplace behavior. So we covered it in many different ways. And I'm like, it's covered right here. Yeah, but it doesn't say that specifically. It says no inappropriate behavior. Inappropriate behavior, that's a subjective term. Guess what I spent the next 2 months doing? I spent the next week writing a policy specific to you can't take your shirt off and rub your nipples in public. That's the policy I had to write. Such a great use of my time, right? As an executive. So we wrote this policy, and then guess what? It takes 2 months to go through the process to get approved and insert it into the policy book. Guess what? It came back, well, we don't like the way you wrote it. Because now if somebody does this, they could get in trouble. Right? So we have taken and watered this down and watered this down and watered this down instead of taking a stand and saying, keep your clothes on at work. wear the appropriate uniform, don't touch other people, because that's not just harassment, that is assault and battery. Like, at the end of the day, when you are at work, keep your hands to yourself. Keep your comments to yourself. Period.
Okay. Here's what I touched upon
You know
earlier.
what?
Two different worlds, two different ways of dealing with it.
You just hold on.
No, don't, man. Don't.
Raffia got me
Let it go.
fired
Let
up.
it go. We'll get there. We have some fantastic comments we have to look at. You know, Khushbu's made some fantastic comments. Bushra Qureshi made some fantastic comments. Rafi, as always. We'll come to it in a second. You're just jealous, Dennis. You know it. Okay, now I have always.
You're correct.
Okay, I have always been. You know what? Let me just message him if he's available, and we'll take him on for a couple of minutes. I need to do something. Okay, here's the thing. I have been an employer all my life, so I do not know what it's like to be an employee. But in my country, in my company, so I'm going to throw multiple perspectives here, and then Dennis, I want you to comment on it. I can completely get away with all kinds of stuff here. But the thing is, supposing if I ever came across a dispute in certain matter, if my female employee with a male employee came and said, well, he touched me, so because there's no real legal binding here, my line of questioning would be, did you touch her? Yes. Did she ask you to touch her? No. Screw you. Now, but if he says, well, she asked me to touch her, or she has been okay with me touching her for 5 years, and suddenly she's not. Did you touch her differently? Okay, and based on that, I would have to give, because I do not completely agree that unless if it's an absolute nutcase we're talking about, like rubbing a nipple, that's an absolute nutcase. Under normal circumstances, and I'm basing this answer of earlier when we decided this topic, I asked Bina, who has in her life had a job or two. And she says, am I right, Bina? She has never, ever been sexually harassed, she says. Never. And she has worked in environments where there are other women who have never complained that they were sexually harassed. So if a man was to actually take his shirt off, somebody's going to kick his nuts and slap him and break his face.
Right.
He's not going to get away with it. There's no law. There's no legality. He's going to get his face smashed.
Right. And that's go ahead.
Unless we come to the situation which Khushbu's been pointing out, that a lot of chicks in her workplaces have been going out to dinners and etc. to get promotions. So if you're taking advantage of the couch, well, good for you. Just don't complain about it. Now, here's another thing which Khushbu has talked about, which I want to raise here. Then those who do not use the couch get walked over or get left behind. They don't progress. So that's another flip side of sexual harassment.
I just want to clarify. So when we're talking about the couch, we're talking about like the casting couch, right?
Yeah, the proverbial casting couch.
Okay.
If somebody's using it, if a woman's taking advantage of the couch, well, you know what? I'm happy for her. But what she's doing in the process is for another woman who does not want to use the couch gets screwed in her career. Yeah. Because now you've built an environment. And you know what?
Absolutely.
Hey, come on. Media, Hollywood, Bollywood, Lollywood, it's everywhere. We all know it. And many actresses come out and said, I had to do this, or I know people who've done it, or I got left behind because I didn't do it. So is that sexual harassment?
You know what? I'm gonna come out and say harassment is. There are guidelines and law or guidelines as to which define that. However, at the end of the day, harassment lies within the person on the receiving end. So, case in point, that's like you were saying with Bina. I actually did an HR investigation, and what took place was there was a male employee, a male supervisor, and this male was having sex. It came out that this male ended up having sex with 3 of his subordinates.
Consensual?
One said it was not. One said it was. And
Well,
the third one said, I was not sexually harassed. I used my body to my advantage.
good for her.
And it's like, okay, see, so my
The
point in
one
this
who
is
said
its
that it was not
perspective.
consensual.
Uh-huh.
Now, the one who said not consensual,
Yeah.
then it becomes rape and violent. Was
Well,
it violent rape?
I advised them. I don't know, because what happens when somebody says, "Well, it wasn't consensual," then I am obligated in my job. I am obligated to let them know. Here's the remedies that you have available, and that never involves me, because now when you're talking non-consensual touching or anything like that, any non-consensual contact is what I should call it. That becomes a law enforcement. That becomes a criminal justice matter, and then I'm out of that picture altogether. And then I wait for the court to give me a subpoena, and I turn documents over. That's that. It's up to the harassment or getting ahead because I took advantage of a situation. That is in the eye of the receiver.
Okay, let's blend the two cultures, mine and yours.
Yeah.
If a person does not outrightly do something outrageous, like take a shirt off, rub nipples, or grope or touch completely inappropriately,
Yeah.
that's just
It's
off
outrageous.
the chart.
Yeah,
that's off the chart. Screw that. In normal circumstances, now if somebody supposing, okay, I'm gonna forgive me for doing this. We had somebody here who's your friend, Lori, I think her name, Dennis. There was a comment from her earlier.
Oh.
You see it? I wanted to look at it. Yeah, there you go, Lori Jemison. Yeah. Okay.
Lori. This does not surprise me because you're a nurse.
No, wait a minute. You know what? Forgive me. And now I'm going to, since I'm in Pakistan, you're in America. She's your friend, man. She'll beat you up, not me.
Yeah,
you know what? I think she's gorgeous. I mean, she's got the most amazing eyes. She's beautiful.
Beautiful eyes, for sure. Yeah.
Now, mind you, in your environment, this comment of mine just now could be construed as sexual harassment or being flirtatious when I'm just being nice, and I'm very open with these compliments. I don't hold back. I mean, I would even go and say, "You're hot." All right? So now, is that, in my opinion, even if, now supposing at this stage Laurie says, I don't like that comment. All she has to do is bring it to my notice, I don't like it. Then if I continue, that is sexual harassment.
That is actually how our standards are written here in the United States, is that somebody is supposed to take and tell, like, hey, I don't appreciate what you're doing. However, again, that now what you bring in, FQ, is like, well, wait a minute, I can't tell the person that's doing this because I'm uncomfortable doing that, and they could retaliate. So in order to avoid the retaliation, now there's certain steps that have come into play here. So, and I'm not going to talk about whether or not
just hang on. That is the point where choice has been made. You prefer to save your job.
Hey man, listen, you talk choice versus law all day long, and at the end of the day, your choice doesn't mean an F. It doesn't, because it's gonna default back to the law.
Sure, but I'm talking about a completely without a law conversation.
Okay.
Because there was a question how to deal with the situation. Somebody said how to deal with it. So here's my point. If I say, hey, Laura, you look hot, and she say, hey, Faisal, I don't appreciate that. And I should immediately say, my apologies. Or at least say, hey, I'm sorry. And don't go that route ever again. If I continue on that route, then screw the law. I am up for a slap.
I am all for a slap. I think a slap could be really helpful in this situation, except in the United States, what always ends up happening, the one who gets the worst of the treatment is the one who retaliates. Straight up, period. I've never seen it work out any different, other than everybody around will go, well, hey, that dude really had it coming, or that lady, like, she punched that chick in the face and she had it coming. What I'm going to say is what I am going to say is, and it kind of plugs back to the basics, is, gentlemen, like, there is a fine line. There is a fine line between creepy and complimentary. And I'm going to say, in the workplace, keep your compliments to yourself. If it's about somebody's appearance, leave it alone, because appearances change. And if
Define
the
creepy.
compliment creepy is to say, creepy would be to take and say, oh, wow, that looks really good on you. I really like when you wear that dress, it makes me all tingly inside. That's creepy.
No.
And
No,
so
no, that is creepy. No, but that is creepy.
Right, but what I'm saying is instead of doing that, take and say, hey, you know what? Wow, what a smart choice that you just made, especially in the workplace. If you want to take and make flirty comments, save it for the supermarket, save it for after Sunday church, save it for someplace else, not the workplace.
Okay,
and I just need to finish this really quickly. Lori, all I'm going to say, I love you to death. I just don't, you should not be flirting at all, but let's just be honest here in the United States, the standards for when a woman says sexual harassment versus a man are very different. I'm going to say you can get away with this, whereas I would not be able to get away with this. And so I'm just saying, and I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I am just simply acknowledging that it exists. Listen, I get where you're coming from, friend, and you and I have been flirtatious upon occasion. And what I'm going to say is, we should not be doing that in the workplace. That's all, because you end up setting yourself up for somebody to go, well, wait a minute. Yeah, I tolerated it, but I didn't really like it once something gets sideways. So that's what I have for you, Lori. Thank you so much. You know I love you.
No, you said creepy statement, and to let people understand even more, hey, Laurie's still around. She's talking to us, man. You should get her online. So see, for me, a nice compliment is, God, those shoes are really sexy. Your feet look lovely in them. That is still okay. But if I say, oh, those are sexy shoes, and you know what? They turn me on. That's when it became creepy.
Again, I think creepy ends up becoming on the recipient, right? I mean, let's just give each other. If we need to give compliments, let's give a compliment that will stand the test of time. Whether or not the person loses their looks, whether they wear different shoes. I mean, do you not still have a great intellect? When somebody's at work and they do a great job, why would we say, wow, where I'm coming from is a good friend of mine got an award at work. This is a female executive, got an award at work, stood there on social media and was like, hey, check out my award. I did this, I did a good job. I professionally kicked ass. Comment after comment after comment. Hey, wow, that dress fits you really well. Hey, nice hair. Nice this. For real? This person just got awarded a professional award. And all we can do is talk about their appearance.
Man?
My problem is, gentlemen, do better. Do better.
No, man. No.
Yes.
I would comment on her shoes more than her award. I would say, congratulations, by the way, those are lovely pants.
I know, but that's because you're basic. So, at some point...
So I am. What's wrong with that? You can't judge me for that.
But other people might... You don't get to make a compliment that other people don't want. Right?
Well,
I mean, that's... Now we go back to what we were talking about last week, which is that, I'm going to offer advice even though you didn't ask for it.
No, I made it very clear. If that person, all the person is to say, nah, I would say, well, okay. No problem. Just...
Turn that off. You're harassing me.
Well, that was my sister, and we're going through times in our life where I have to take that particular photo. My apologies, man.
Oh, then it's not harassment.
Okay. It is not harassment. So here's my point, bro. I think saying all those nice things is nice, but two things. One, if you make it creepy, which is very obviously creepy, which is off the charts, that's a no-no. Like saying, you know what, lovely pants, I'd love to get in them. Not cool. But you know what? God, what a reminder. 1983, USA. I'm standing at the ATM machine, and a complete stranger woman walks past me, and she said that exact line. And at that time, I did not even really understand it. She said, hey, love your pants, would love to get in them. No, lovely pants, would love to see what's in them. She said, would love to see what's in them. And it didn't register. It registered later. Later on, we became friends, got to know her, we became friends. That was not sexual harassment back in the 80s. Fast forward 2010, 2015, everything's sexual harassment. All I'm trying to establish here, and for people, before we go to the comments, is If somebody says something to you which is completely off the chart, and off the chart I mean, you know what, like Dennis the example said, take a shirt off, start rubbing nipples.
Yeah.
No. If somebody makes a comment like, God, I love your hair, would love to smell them. No.
Right.
Love your clothes that turn me on. No. Those are all no-nos. But anything out of that spectrum, if somebody says something and you don't like it, all you have to say is, don't do this, man. And if they still do it, that's a problem. Okay,
I completely agree. And all I want to say to that is, like, talk to people. If you don't want to be called, talk to people at work the way that you wish to be talked to. I mean, unless you want to be talked to that way.
You know what?
Then
my
don't.
resolution. That is my resolution argument. Somebody says, this was not a problem. I said, good, so we can do that for your sister. You okay with that? If you're okay with that, then you can do it to somebody. Then you can do it to somebody else's sister. If you're okay with somebody doing it to your sister, then you can do it to somebody else's sister, man. Short of that, you can't.
Yes, and absolutely. Like, there's a comment on here, and we'll get to it in a minute. And Bushra, I completely agree. It is, I mean, why in a million years? What gives me the right to call you sweetheart? I mean, or baby, or any of these other, like, terms of endearment in the workplace. Like, it's rude, it's condescending, and it diminishes that individual's professional accomplishments. It's kind of like in the world I came from, and it's funny because we used to say this, now the word hero is everywhere, and I don't want to get off on that topic, but, in my world that I came from public safety, listen, you did not want to be called a hero. Like that was bad. That was a bad thing, because it was always used in a oh, really? Really? Hey, great job there, hero. It was never said in a good light. The only one that called us heroes was the public. Amongst each other, like, you didn't call each other that. You did not call each other that because it had a negative connotation. So I think we have to be, some situational awareness comes into this. I didn't want to be called hero by anybody, and I can't imagine that somebody that somebody else's wife wants to come to work and be called sweetheart or baby doll or any of these other dumbass names I would decide to, like, think that I'm entitled to call them. I'm not. I don't have that entitlement.
Okay, a treat for a lot of women on this watching us right now. He is joining.
Awesome. Somebody's going to come on.
He's coming on, and he's at a shoot right now from the set. He said, I'm going to connect just now. So let's see. Now, this is one of those topics we are really stretching the time, but that's okay. Dennis, if you're okay, share the link. Any of these people want to come on and talk? Should we do that? Open the link? Sure.
It's an interesting topic. We were getting a lot. We're apparently hitting a nerve, which is good. Okay. We need to have these conversations and make the workplace inviting for everybody. Listen, as a business owner, there's a couple things I want. I don't care if you date, but you better make me money. Like, at the end of the day, that's what I care about. You better make me money. And if somebody else's behavior is keeping you from making me money, I have an effing problem with it.
My dearest friend, my namesake, the actor who we call Hero Faisal Qureshi.
How are you?
We're good, man. Faisal, this is Dennis from Arizona. Dennis, this is This is the Faisal Qureshi you keep Googling and getting. He's the one
This is the guy that beat you on the Google rankings. Outstanding.
Yeah, he beats me everywhere. He's brutal, man. So Faisal, Hero, how we differentiate. We were talking about last night. I got this girl messaging me for 30 minutes saying we should meet. I'm like, eventually she said, you're not doing any plays these. I'm like, once again, you know what? They're looking for you. They come to me. Okay, now, Hero Ji, we're talking about sexual harassment. And of course, the media industry came up as well. I have seen you personally getting sexually harassed by women. That one time when he was actually stuck in a room where a woman was running all around him, trying to touch him. And he was screaming to me, save me, save me. And we were trying to get security guards just to get him out of that venue. Now, if that happened to a woman, Faisal, do you remember that Karachi event? Where'd you go? Hero, come back. there. Do you remember the event?
I'm sorry, there was a call. Yeah, it does happen.
Do you remember the
Faisal bhai,
event?
You know that, but yeah, I do remember that event, and it happened a lot of time. लेकिन अब क्या कह सकता हूँ मैं? You know,
नहीं तो
only
fine. You say what can you say? But the thing is there sexual harassment openly in the media, entertainment industry, or not? And
it's not from the media people. It's obviously from some random people, or maybe the girls, or maybe some boys. It happened a lot of time, but we have to face it because people thinks we are public property, and we have to touch him. We have to meet him, or I want to hug you. I want to kiss you. Are the these are the normal things, but obviously it depends on you how you save yourself. But वो जो कहते हैं कि
that's $1 million statement.
Yeah. तो वो जो कहते हैं कि अपना क्या कहते हैं हम आगे से नहीं उस तरह से रिएक्ट करते मतलब even few days back I'm blocking people because they send such obnoxious messages sometime. So you're just come on, relax. मतलब अब तो हम पहले फिर भी जवाब देते थे. Now I stop answering these people and I just go to the block button and just block them. So this is the only thing. But yeah. And
So Dennis, this was my point. If somebody makes an approach which you do not like, it is as simple as saying, get out of my face. And yes, at times, if you make that compromise because you're getting advantage from that situation, then you're making the choice to compromise. Correct?
Agreed. Yeah. I absolutely agreed. I mean, and I can just say, I can take this from the other side of this. I mean, because I think a lot of these situations end up just being ridiculous. And it's not to diminish anything. It's just simply to say, but because now I have the right to complain. I have the right to complain that I don't get hit on as much as you two. So now my feelings are hurt. So now I'm going to complain that nobody likes me. So I'm being harassed from a different way because I'm not getting the attention. So
Are you serious?
I think that this is listen. That's a valid argument here in the United States. There you go. So maybe your situation's a little better.
But Faisal भाई देखें अगर ओवरऑल मैं उर्दू में बात कर रहा हूँ आप बात
Please go on.
जो असल मसला है वो मसला हम मर्दों के साथ ही अगर परसेंटेज आप देखें so it's very less. It's not more than 15 to 20%.
With men, okay.
There is a big issue with a lot of women on the workplace or any kind of workplace. तो औरतों के साथ ये ज्यादा मसला है. मर्द फिर भी पलट के जवाब दे देता है. Even I can answer back or anyone, but औरतें थोड़ा बेचारी कुछ घबरा जाती हैं.
So you're saying a man is okay to say, man is in a position to say no, but you're saying women have a more difficult time saying no.
डर जाती हैं फैसल भाई. बहुत सारी लड़कियां डर जाती हैं.
Scared of what? किस चीज से डर जाती हैं?
हाँ.
किससे? What are they scared of?
Hello.
You got too much going on? Chal, okay. I can't hear you anymore. Okay, Mariam.
You know what?
His point is that men are stronger in a position they can say no, but women have a much more difficult time saying no, and they get scared. I couldn't get the answer what they're scared of.
Yeah.
But they get scared. I'm trying to get somebody else as well. Somebody really interesting.
I'll tell you, man. From a psychology perspective, it's scared of cultural norms. It's scared of when you look at how women are raised, and typically there is still a standard that women are to please and they're there to serve and so forth. And until we get rid of that and like our personal lives, we're going to continue to have that in our professional lives as well. So I think sometimes what happens, FQ, is that we women get afraid that they don't have any other choice, because if they want the job, then they're going to need to do it. I mean, the difference here, it's not like it's easy when people in the United States get divorced, but a divorced woman in the United States is in a very different situation than a divorced woman in Pakistan. Very different. And I just think we have to at least acknowledge that, and that's where some of these fears can come from. And not just that, but do I want the fear of do I want this to go public? I know that's a big fear here in the United States, is if this happens, now though, if a woman makes a claim, there's automatically she's going to be looked at as her whole life is going to be picked apart, as opposed to looking at what exactly happened. Well, did she dress provocatively? Did she say these kind of things? Was it consensual for a time and then she pulled the consent? I mean, a woman in the United States is up against some very real obstacles and hurdles in a sexual harassment claim, even though most of the claims are against men. So it really works both ways. And all I'm going to say is, at the end of the day, drop the gender and add respect. Add respect into your life. Gender has nothing to do with respecting other human beings. Just simply show respect for another human being, and we don't have to even take gender into this. If I'm looking at you as a human being, I'm just saying, FQ, why is it easier for me to view you as a human being? Because I don't think you're trying to have sex with me. So your comments don't really offend me, whereas a female who's had multiple men try to have sex with her, in some ways, women just need to hire NHL goalies to keep their bosses and coworkers away from them.
No, what made you think I don't want to have sex with you?
Well, I hope that you do, and I hope Corona ends really quickly so that we can connect and share our love. So,
now, see, there you go. See, there you go. Now you just consented.
Hey,
now it's consensual.
Listen, I don't give consent and take it away. I say I'm going to ride it out and experience the experience, and we're going to move from there. So listen, you're not going to get. I will not be one that claims harassment against you, because you're not going to harass me. However, I am in a very different position than many of other people in lower positions in the workplace, and many of those positions are held by females. We just need to take the gender out of this and respect our co-workers. Period. Respect our co-workers. Period.
Fair enough, man. But respect is relative.
Oh, here we go.
so based on what we talked about, let's look at the comments. And I've requested another friend to join in. She's on the road. She says she'll be home in about 5 to 7 minutes. She'll come in. She has a lot of interesting stuff to say about this. Dennis, are you okay with time, or you rushed? You okay? So she's coming in. In the meantime, let's have a look at the comments. Yeah. And if you can hold the fort, I will let you start with the comments. Hold the fort. I need to go to the little boy's room. I'll be back in 2 minutes. Yeah.
Very good.
Okay with that?
Very good. Yeah. So Ednan says, take your break, FQ.
Yeah,
so Ednan says,
take full screen.
I think you did that.
Sorry, wrong guy. You need to take the screen. You need to take the screen. What's happening, man?
I don't know.
Oh,
there we go. Perfect. Okay. So, Adnan, thank you so much. It says, I think problem lies in the individuals. Yeah, I would completely agree. It is the individual, period, and the individual brings this bad behavior into the different settings. Mindset's not on how a woman dresses. You're absolutely correct. It has nothing to do with the way anybody dresses. What I am going to say to that is, if you don't want comments made, then wear something that's contextually appropriate for that setting. And the example I use for that has nothing to do with sex at all. It has to do with, it might be appropriate, content versus context is that I can take if I wear a clown suit, that's perfectly okay at a birthday party, but I cannot wear the same clown suit to a funeral. Very different meaning depending upon the context. So, Rafia, yeah, some people are small-minded. The expert on everything. And I'll show this one while FQ is away for a few moments. I agree. All right. right. Adnan Chowdhury, thank you so much. Agreed. Yeah. Okay, let's get into Kushbu. Working at 6 years organization, I never got promoted. Bonus had no. It's been time the boss get promotions. Yeah, Kushbu. Listen, I think what you're describing is all too common. I think it's all too common. I think it's very unfortunate. In fact, you and I have actually discussed this topic off screen as well, and so it's really interesting that this happens. It's interesting to me that this is still going on, and I just think it's really one. I commend you for resigning. However, I think it's absolute bullshit you were put into that position where resigning was a consideration that you had to take that you probably wouldn't have done had the situation been a little different. So thank you for sharing that, and sorry that you experienced that. That's absolutely terrible. As a hobby, not a need. Okay. Well, either way, regardless of why you resigned your position, it should not have been because of other people being rude or harassing in any way, shape, or form. So that just sucks. Terrible, terrible, terrible. Let's see. Rafi, I'm not sure what this one means. I still get weird comments. I'm not familiar with Ludo King. Perhaps that's a game that you're talking about. Bushra, thank you. Harassment is common for. Yeah, I felt when I had bosses who were older and they like to intimidate younger girls. I think what happens, Bushra, is I think that the harassment comes in because it's easy, right? I mean, it's easy to take. I'll come out and say it. I look at somebody like my father-in-law. He's perfectly okay to say whatever he wants to my wife. Because I can say whatever I want to my daughter until I stand up and say, you're not going to say that to my wife. So I think that there always ends up, people take advantage of the situation that they're in because then they can get whatever they want out of it. So felt uncomfortable. Yeah, listen, I don't know what Ludo is, so maybe that's something I need to look into a little bit more.
Uncomfortable playing Ludo. What the hell does that even mean, girl? Ludo is like a bloody, or online or Ludo with people. Okay, need to clarify that.
So here's the other thing. So Bushra, yeah, I'm not sure I totally understand this. It's not sexual harassment because men welcome sexual content with open arms. I'm just going to say, friend, I think that's a very big sweeping generalization. When I'm at work, I don't want to be put into that situation. I want to be left alone to grind away and work and hustle and grind and get my work done and get out of there. I can assure you, I think that's a common sentiment. I think that we have politicians in the news all the time right now that have made this more acceptable, and that's why we're kind of seeing a resurgence of it. I think it's disgusting on all ends. I think women should be respectful towards men. Men should be respectful towards women. Respect is respect, regardless of gender.
Okay. By the way, we did leave a comment with the link. Who wants to?
So I think. Wait a minute. I think I'm being called an idiot here. Why are you wasting your time with this idiot?
You are wasting time with this idiot.
Well,
I'm the idiot.
But I want to be offended.
No, wait. How does that work, man? How can somebody say I am upset because I didn't get hit upon? How does that work?
Oh, well, I'm just saying it happens, and I've heard this conversation from a lot of people. Again, I've been an HR investigator for quite a while, so we have somebody. Okay, let's bring this in.
Dude, yeah, wait. Let me introduce her.
Yeah.
Let me introduce her. Now, can you not, if you can hear me, Maria, can you hear me? Now, I'll bring her in. Okay, you know what? She's hot, she's sexy, she's gorgeous, she's beautiful, and she's the smartest person in Pakistan's media. Maria, did I just sexually harass you?
Sorry?
Did I just sexually harass you?
No.
Wait. I can't. No, we're not hearing you. And you know what? You're actually looking gorgeous right now.
Thank you.
See, now look at Dennis. She just said thank you. Maria, you're looking gorgeous, hot, sexy, beautiful, stunning. Is that sexual harassment? You know, coming from me, that is not sexual harassment because that's how I talk.
No, it's not. We are just blurring lines between
Okay, Maria,
sexual harassment
you're really disconnecting. Can you fix your bandwidth? I really want you to talk,
and
please.
yeah.
Maria,
Okay,
you're really
all right.
disconnecting. I
Okay,
need you
let
to
me.
talk.
Should I?
Oh,
Oh, she'll be back. She'll be back. She's cool. She'll be back.
And I just
look
wanna-
at you. Look at you. Did you just flirt with that? Ooh, did you just flirt?
no, I'm not flirting. I'm frustrated that she went off screen because I was really looking forward to talking to her. And I just want to point out, you say that it's not. All I'm saying, FQ, is you could have very easily said that in a very different way, which is that she's smart, she's intelligent, and she's really attractive. Focus
No.
on the intelligence first. That's how
No,
we respect
why?
other people as humans.
See,
Come
see,
on,
that's-
ladies.
That's
Get
the
in here.
American pseudo-intellectual. She's
Oh, come
that's
on.
the American pseudo-intellectual crap, man. Come on.
Negative. This is not
I
about
say
anything
it,
like
I say
that.
it the way you're thinking. You're saying the way it should be said. You're just
But
being this politically
There you
correct
go.
bullshit.
Oh, come on. This isn't political correctness at all.
You're being politically correct
Oh,
bullshit, man.
Nonsense. It's being being respectful. And I guess you know
What?
what? If I want to be respectful, then I am fine to take your version of abuse.
Abuse? Where's that abuse?
Because I said you're doing it.
Okay.
I'm
Your
withdrawing.
abuse?
I'm withdrawing my consent for you to abuse me.
So no more kinky stuff. So no more kinky
No more.
stuff, right?
Oh, we got clarification. Yes, you are fine. Zane agreed. Hook 'em horns, man.
Yeah, Zane's
All
one of my
right.
lovers.
So
Oh, look at no, go, dude, check this out. And you didn't abuse her by saying that?
I don't.
What a nutcase.
So
Anyway,
listen. I hope
Okay,
that
well-
she can come back on. I think
no,
I'm going
she's
to
coming
need
back
time.
on. She is coming back on. Don't worry, she will come back. She loves this topic. She really loves this topic. I was asking other people as well, but since this was unprepared, she is, because she's coming back from a shoot right now, so she's all dolled up. So
Oh,
she's
very nice.
okay for the camera.
Cool.
Okay. I messaged other people as well. We can continue this topic because there are two of my other friends who really want to take this topic on.
Then let's continue it. Can we continue it tomorrow?
Yeah. Okay. Now let's have a look at some comments while she comes. Let me just message her. While she comes back, I meant. Okay. Okay, Monsignor, an international expert in the field of energy and talk, but Kate, oh come on, man! I thought you were talking about us. I was saying Dennis is the expert on the topic, and I am too an expert on the predator.
Yeah, that's as good as saying I've got a PhD in douchebaggery. So
There she is. Oh yes,
Is it better? Let's.
yes.
Awaz aa
You're
rahi hai?
you're breaking my heart.
much better, Maria.
What about my sound, the voice? Is it breaking?
No, it's very good. It's excellent.
No, it's fine. It's fine. You're good now. Okay, so we're talking about sexual harassment in general and sexual harassment at work. Just to really summarize it, my point is, if I say something to you, and if you don't like it, all you have to tell me is, no, I don't like it. And then if I continue, that's harassment. And also, I feel flirtation has been completely misunderstood with sexual harassment. If I'm saying you're hot and sexy and beautiful and gorgeous, I think those are just compliments.
Yes.
Dennis, did you just see that shrug? Did you just see that? God, that's why I love this girl.
I thought you were looking at my eye roll from your comments. So
No, man.
Oh, I roll. I like
Yeah.
that too.
yeah.
When it comes to sexual harassment, I think there should be no gender discrimination, because I've been working very closely with child abuse and all that, and I feel that in Pakistan or all over the world, it's more. It becomes different when it's for girls and for boys, especially in Pakistan when it comes to child abuse and sexual harassment. It's more about girls or women. But I feel, and I've over a period of time realized that when it comes to such kind of abuses, it's there should not be gender discrimination. A victim is a victim, and it's not about a girl or a boy. And when you're working with kids, you realize, like in Pakistan, I think more boys, boys, small boys, madrasa going boys in the house, servants. I think it's the same. You can't say that girls, are sexually, harassed more. But we just try to put it under the carpet and not talk about it.
Well, for young kids, there's a fundamental reason, because we are more protective towards female child just because we think she's more vulnerable. Whereas with male children, we're very, very careless. We let them hang.
I hate that. With the boys, you say, with the young boys, you say, you can't cry. You have to be brave. Boys don't cry. Men should be strong. You're going to be a strong man. You're going to take care of every. You are building up a human being. That's the system. It's all brainwashing. So you see, I also feel that when it comes to sexual harassment, it is not an isolated thing. It is in any part of the world. It is connected with your economy, your values, your education, your the people around you, whether you live in a city or whether you live in a village. So this all is connected. And people may differ, but I feel this is all, and you cannot just take sexual harassment as a problem and try to deal with it without addressing all these things. You see, where is it happening more? Where are the chances of it happening more?
Okay, I'm gonna come in really specifically, because we were talking about from completely two perspectives: Pakistan, America. Laws, the over-the-top legalities, and really non-existent legal support. Now, we as a nation are much more flirty, and I think men take unfair advantage of teasing or harassing women in our culture. So the absence of a regulation or absence of legal recourse has made that more possible. And also, men in power can get away with this shit by sexually harassing. Okay, Dennis, I was completely forgetting. We have a very, very popular case going on in Pakistan right now where these teachers were sexually harassing students. And Dennis even talked about it. Dennis, are you up to scratch with that?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So, that thing is going on. Now, male children are also harassed by their teachers, male student, teenagers, but that never gets talked about. But these women do. So two things. One, of course, I agree with you, Maria. It should be it should not be gender classified. Harassment is that. But now my question to you: what qualifies as sexual harassment in Pakistan in general, and in particular media? With the industry you're in, because that, again, in our common assumption, any woman who's on television, especially in the entertainment industry, is a slut, if I may use the word. Forgive my...
You can use any word. It generally defines that she's available and
there you go.
she can be
there
approached.
There you go.
So you see, I feel...
So how bad is it for you?
It was bad, but in the beginning, you see, people from the media, art, from any of, especially women who are coming into any profession, I feel they are ostracized in a certain way. They're just ostracized from the society. The acceptability becomes very, very different. But you know why it is? I've been thinking about it. That why is it happening? You see, and the confusion. And also the confusion. You can flirt with somebody and somebody can take it as an offense. Or somebody can say, oh, thank you very much. It's great to hear these words from you. I'm flattered. The thing is that from the core of the matter, from the very beginning, neither our parenting system and our education system is fucked and flawed. Because the girls are not told to say no. If they don't like anything, they cannot say no. Aapke inkar mein ikrar hai, that. So the girls, when they grow up, they are confused whether they're studying in a university, because this is your films, even in films. Ladki sharma
Yeah.
gayi, she's shy. Oh, she's coy. She means yes. So even if she says no, na kare na, it is not taken as a no. Even she is confused at another level, but
Okay.
because we have not taught her the A, B, C, D, so she doesn't know how to say no. She
Okay,
doesn't. She's not being taught.
I want to interject and bring Dennis up to scratch on this. Dennis, I earlier told you in a pop culture it said, "In a girl's silence is her affirmation." Mari just reminded me, not just in her silence, but we are actually taught by our pop culture that in her no is a yes. And even our movies, I mean, you can pick up some Indian songs and Indian stuff. The
Heroine is saying no, 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 no.
She's consciously when she's actually playing yes, 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 do me harder.
Right.
Yeah. And she's
that's-
giving
That's serious
signs,
fuckery
which is
there,
like
right?
yes to no. It's confusing because we've not been taught. And when something like this happens, because of the women in our society, they've been, everything is, kind of brushed under the carpet. It's all right. Don't talk about it.
Sure,
so
but
when you don't talk about it, so you take on that harassment.
But how is it teaching? I think that we're also teaching males to harass. See, I think that's the other side of this. I think in not teaching girls to say no, I think we are encouraging harassment by not teaching boys to not say to not harass, right? And I'll just tell you, what's that?
Sorry, I'm interjecting. I just want to say again, let's not, again, that was a wrong thing to do. Let's not, now when we are talking about it, let's not talk about boys or girls. Both of them have to be taught the same thing. Maybe a girl is the harasser.
No,
Well, I think that we have to really.
Dennis has a point. Dennis has a point. The two things.
I think what we're talking about is
pop-
programming.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Dennis, what's
There
happening is
are
women are being taught. The women are actually being taught to say no when they mean yes, to hold back when they actually want to give. Whereas you're right. At the same time, men are being trained that when she says no, she just means yes.
Okay, but you're like, do
That's
you understand
what I
like
mean.
how confusing this is to me? I have a lot of education. I am older. This is very confusing to me. How do we ever in a million years expect a child to understand this or even follow this like stupid logic?
So
It makes-
do you give us the award for the most confusing?
Well, I'll tell you, my version of confusing is being taught from an ultra Christian perspective is that homosexuality is wrong. Who was teaching me that? The same ministers and clerics that were bending me over the church pew. So, like, I'm just saying, like, it's very, very confusing. So if we don't want people to be, think about it. When a male gets abused. When a male gets sexually abused, now I don't think we can completely take gender out of this. What we've said is this is okay. We have normalized it, and we certainly can't talk about it because we don't want to be looked at as anything as like effeminate in any way, shape, or form, right? And so what we've done is we've actually, by doing this to the boys, by not teaching girls to say no or that no means no. What we've done is we've just continued. We all we're doing is perpetuating this cluster F of a situation. It is so ridiculous. Abuse is abuse. Crime is crime, regardless of whether it is committed against a male or a female. But until we take and say all of it's wrong, all of it's wrong, we will continue to have these gender biases. We will continue to go, well, look at what she was wearing, as if that gives me a right to do anything just because somebody was doing it to me. Until we stop this at the very beginning and say, it is wrong, it's fucked up, it's a crime, there is no nice way to put it, this is going to continue. And this is why it in the United States, it definitely carries into the workplace. And then what happens is you have to come to an expert like me because you don't know how to figure your shit out. Because of all this sexual weirdness when we were kids. Like, just stop sexualizing children. There is no other way to say that. Stop sexualizing children in any way, shape, or form. Sorry.
Exactly.
I get a little excited about this.
No. Yes.
It is a touchy subject. Okay, Maria,
Sexuality is very exciting.
Okay, Maria, let's come to the industry. Let's come to the industry, the media, where you are. Is there sexual harassment or to the level where it would become a problem? I mean, you are, mashallah, a strong bold woman, and I know you can take shit and you can kick somebody in the nuts if you want to. But generally, there are a lot of these young girls who are trying to make it. Khushbu, one of our viewers earlier said that a lot of women use not her words, but I'm rewording it. They use the sexuality to climb the ladder, and those who do not do it, they actually get they get in trouble. Is that true?
Yes, it's true, like anywhere else in the world, and not only about the media, but about all walks of life. But consensual is something different, it's your own deal, whether you want to do it with somebody or you don't want to do it. I'm not talking about it.
Good point.
But, if I want to be with somebody or that person wants to be with me, that's another thing, totally, it's consensual. But if I'm putting somebody in a position where that person is cornered, but tell me one thing, all right, this is not that I've not been, offered, all right, if you will do this, you'll get this or something, but I've said no and I've come out of it, whether I wanted it badly or not, like that program or that project or something, I said no. I was not blackmailing somebody into something is harassment. That is wrong. But and it happens to male over here as well. All the models, you see, that happens everywhere in the world, like male models. So I also want to know that if for example, I'm a producer or a director and a young, good-looking guy comes to me and I say, yes, that the role is there and everything is there, but if you want to, if you want this role, you will come and, like a lot of cases that we have heard. So, and that person can walk away, but doesn't walk away. Where will you categorize that? If I ask you.
I don't know how to answer that. I mean, I think that's very complex. I think that's very individual. Now you're saying, like, I get a choice. So if you're saying to me, you're saying, hey, Dennis, you know what? I really want to hire you for this job, but in order for you to get this job, you're going to have to do, X, Y, and Z. Now we're talking a quid pro quo. And again, that is in the United States, that is the definition of harassment and so forth. However, but what we're saying is now, I mean, don't I have a choice in that as well? I mean, I think what we tend to say is that, but you also have a choice in being a scumbag. Right? I mean, that's what we're talking about. Asking. So I think, I don't know that there's an answer for that. I think that depends on each individual. I mean, if I want something bad enough, I'll just come out and say it. There was a time in my life where somebody, and they did. Now, you have to look at contextually what was going on, but if you just looked at the surface and when somebody said, hey, Dennis, if you go out and sell these drugs for me and you take and collect money from hookers, then and bring it to me, then I'll pay you this amount. Well, at that point in time, like, I needed money, right? So it's not, I think that it's very contextual. I don't think that there's one answer. I think it's very complex. I think it's very personalized. And it's kind of like saying, well, I don't know, were you, man, because I can go, wow, man, Maria, she like, woo-hoo-hoo, I'm totally going to get this job because she's into me. That's why she said it. Or I can go, oh, that hurts my feelings. I don't like that. So I get to decide that, not the one saying it.
Okay, another thing which happens in my part of the world is it's an assumption that men are desperate. Maybe Busha made some comments in jest, but people here actually think, oh, men like it, when a woman hits on him. Why? Every woman in this part of the world thinks that if a man says hi, he's just desperate to get in the knickers. And for men, I'm speaking from a personal perspective, it becomes very difficult. I send happy birthdays to random people on my Facebook, but every time I do, I'm like, shit, man, she can take a screenshot and say, but then I say, what, screw you. I'm a professional flirt. I'm perfectly all right with it. Do it. Who gives a shit? Well,
it's also assuming that every man likes sex. And I can just tell you, like, I live in.
Excuse me. What am I? Every man. Everybody. Either people like it, or people like it, or people don't like it.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean I want to have sex with you. It doesn't mean I want to have sex with somebody else. It means I want to have sex with who I want to have sex with. So it doesn't mean, like, if you flirt with me, like, why should I just take that? It's like, I don't understand. First of all, I mean, anytime we use sweeping generalizations, we're always incorrect. Always. And what we're doing is looking at something from our own perspective and our own biases, and those biases have been created by experiences. Like, I do not, just because I tell somebody in the store, like if I'm standing there getting coffee, I'm like, wow, I really like your shoes. I can assure you, it is Phoenix, Arizona, where I live. It's 118 degrees outside right now. I don't want to touch you, let alone have sex with you. It's too fucking hot.
Hot. Yeah.
Like, there you go.
But there's a global generalized perception or preconceived notion that men would do anything that moves. And every time a man...
I know, and that might be true for an 18 to 24-year-old. Like, come on. Like, not everybody stays in that time frame of their life. I mean, anytime we want to take and say, it's like me saying, if I took into the workplace, hey, you know what? I got to watch everything because every woman here is going to accuse me of wrongdoing. Like, guess what? I'm probably going to get accused of that. Like, we bring the story into these situations, and that means we create the context. So if I create that context that every woman is out to get me, guess what I'm going to find proof of? Everybody's out to get me. This comes down to basic human decency and basic respect. We all say, oh, well, we're animals. That's fine. We might be biologically programmed that way, but look at the animal kingdom. They don't just walk around having sex with everything. They don't. There's times. Yeah. There's an appropriate time and place. Well, the workplace is not it.
And choosing your mate. There's a lot of wooing, it's just amazing.
I don't know what to say about... I don't know what to say. I actually came from an industry where a very common way for women to get hired into the fire service or into the fire department was to have sex with guys. Like, literally, and part of it was, I'm not even kidding. Like, this would happen, a female would have sex with a guy on duty, one of my employees. They would have sex with them, and guess what? Then the next thing you know, they're trying to get a job. We can't tell them no. Like, it creates this whole ugly situation. Respect is respect, regardless of gender. Abuse is abuse. Crime is crime.
Okay, here's a comment from Bibi. Unfortunately, she can't join us right now because she says she's with some people. But Dennis, sex is not the end goal. Mostly sexual harassment is a tool to subjugate the opposite sex, about pseudo power. I disagree with that.
Oh, I don't agree I don't disagree at all, Faisa. Thank you.
You said what? That it's a tool. It's also a tool.
Most sexual harassment has nothing to do. So I'm going to take and say, from a human resources perspective, what I have seen is that typically the sexual harassment occurs because of perceived power, or because it was nothing more than horseplay that got inappropriate. So I'm just telling you, like, I have seen people like make some sort of like the whole group was like joking around. The whole group was joking around. And then as soon as somebody goes, oh, well, hey, back that thing up, or hey, watch where you point that, because somebody bends over and picks something up, when the whole group was doing it, and now it's done, it's over. So I'm just saying, like, let's change the way that we talk. Workplace, social environments, whatever. How about this? If you're not willing to say it at the mosque, don't say it at work. There you go. It's just that simple.
Yeah,
like, and unfortunately,
dude, that's unfair. We can't say anything at a mosque or a church. I mean, come on.
Yeah, the certain things you can't
but
say.
But why just because you can say it, why should you? That's the thing, is why would you want to take and make another human being feel subjugated? I think it comes from horseplay gone awry, and then the other part is power. So it's one of those two. Most of what I have experienced and what I have witnessed and investigated for 15 years ends up becoming like basically an inappropriate comment, that just escalated out of control. The parts about like, hey, I'll give you a promotion if you do this or do that, I have not had that to be like the majority of the cases I have had to investigate. That's just not been my experience. And for those like in the industry, I've seen comments about Harvey Weinstein, look, that's just dead ass wrong. It's just dead wrong.
Okay, I completely disagree about this power thing, man.
Okay.
People are commenting it's a power exuding thing, and you know what? It's about power. No, sex is about sex. What does it have to do with power or intimidation?
No, it
man?
has.
Someone is
Come
trying
on,
to.
Faisal, it has everything to do with power and you being insecure of not getting a girl or a woman, you know, on your own. So you're cornering that person and blackmailing that person into doing this.
I don't.
come
You know
on.
what?
fine,
I think it
fine,
comes from,
fine.
and I think
If I like you,
Faisal.
I like you. If I don't like you, I don't like you.
Faisal is just
Keep
trying to.
going.
He's just trying to bring Tina Turner into this, and what's love got to do with it? It's just sex. Well, it has a lot to do with it. You like that? I threw that in there, FQ,
Well-
just for you.
Yeah. What's love got to do with it, man? No,
It's just a second-hand
Maria's the point.
emotion.
It's just second-hand emotion. Maria, ignore us. Dennis and I are completely absolute music buffs, all right? So we throw in fucking songs everywhere.
And
All
I'm a
right,
complete
now, Maria had a
jackass.
good point. Maria had a good point that, you know, it's idiots who can't really get it normally. They would use their position or advantage to get it. But bottom line is everyone's trying to get it. All right? Now,
And what
my
you feel,
point...
you see, it is like, what has the society made us into that we are thinking like that? You see that this is power. If I do this and I get it, and the power is there, then I'm told that I've achieved something. All right, you know how the boys talk. Oh, I scored. I got that girl. She was after me. Even if you didn't get her in colleges, universities, and otherwise. Why? Why is it something?
Yeah,
like,
but I don't
you did
agree with
something
that,
great?
Maria. I don't agree with that. That's how
That
boys
happens.
talk. And you know why I say that? Because I know I raised two boys. I raised
I know
two
how
boys.
men talk here.
I raised
No, I
two
mean,
sons,
generally, yeah.
and I can say that I'm sure that my boys talk like that, but they don't talk like that around me, and they don't talk like that around their mother. So there you go.
You are the church. You're the church. They can't talk over there.
Well, I'm just simply saying, like, some of us raise our boys to not be like that. Now, society has an impact as
that's
well.
true.
And it's just simply saying that boys will be boys. Well, my boys never did that. Most people that I
But
know,
I'm talking about where I am.
I
talking
understand.
about where I am.
I understand what you're saying. I'm just simply
It's
saying.
kind of a big thing.
So
I-
see,
You're taught to disrespect. You're
It
taught
is
to
a total
disrespect and take
100%.
pride in it. That's
Yeah,
the
we should not
problem.
take pride in any of this.
Respect is
We
not being
should, but I don't know how much pride we take in this because at least here in the United States, this stuff is underground. It's always underground, and it only becomes a big deal if it's going to go public. And that I don't know. Maybe we need to change that as well. It's just simply that if it's sex, I consider harassment being coerced. Yeah, I'm sorry, I got sidetracked with a comment. I think at the end of the day, I cannot say this any more simpler. It comes down to respect. Respecting human beings for the fact that they are human beings. Religion,
So are
socioeconomic
you-
status, gender has nothing to do with the level of respect that I have for somebody
you.
else.
So, bro, are you suggesting no one should ever make a move on another person?
I'm saying it needs to be contextually appropriate. You should not be making a move on somebody because you have power over them. What kind of relationship is that? I mean, that's just fucked up to begin with. I don't want to marry somebody because I coerced them into marrying me. My life will be exponentially miserable.
No.
Yeah.
Coercion is something different. I'm saying you do make an approach, you do test, you see if it's going to work, and if it's not going to work, you back off.
Then you back off. If
Don't
somebody
do
says
it
no,
with
you
your
don't
coworkers.
throw acid on their
Why
face.
not?
You
Don't do it with your... No, absolutely not. I don't budge on that.
On
There's
my
plenty of
watch,
other people.
On my watch in my company, there were at least 2 couples who hooked up and got married.
Okay, but that's not you taking and creating a company so that you have a dating pool. You created
That would be
a company.
fantastic. There's a lot of money in that business.
Right,
I'm
right.
planning to.
At one time I did. Before speed dating became fashionable in the rest of the world, I did consider a matchmaking system for Pakistan, but technologically.
Well, matchmaking and shadi is the biggest business in Pakistan. And now
That's the
talaq
only
too.
business. That's the only one of 2 businesses. Matchmaking, reproducing, nothing else.
See, and I'm just going to say, like, I've heard that the other argument is like, hey, well, we don't, it's all because you guys are in arranged marriages. We have this issue over here. I'd say the issue is just the same in it. We're not arranged, and we do all kinds of crazy stuff with each other. So it just, like, people are people regardless of where we're at in the world, and regardless of culture, regardless of gender, regardless of profession. Respect is respect. Human decency is human decency, period. Abuse is abuse, and it's a crime. And on top of that, it's a sin. Like, just knock it off. Treat each other with respect, and then we don't cross these lines. It's just that simple. I get really frustrated with this whole topic because it's just such stupidity in that like, just
look at this comment, man.
The F up.
Look at the comment. In our society, 95% men get happy if a woman flirts with them. They don't feel harassed. They take it as a chance.
What? Show me the data that you have to
found-
support that statement. Show me the data. Show me facts to support that statement. Not just anecdotal evidence. Not a feeling.
Can we change the word flirting to showing an interest? Like, if a woman shows an interest, that is not wrong. You see, if a woman is showing interest, if you've said hello to her and woman is showing interest in you, if she says or he says no, it should be a no. That's what I'm saying. It should not be like you take it to heart and put acid on her face because she said no.
Oh,
that's
fuck up,
that.
Sure, but that's
fuck-up,
terrible.
That is what happens here.
I know, and
It's
that's gross.
So women, look, I'll tell you. I was born in Africa. When I came to Pakistan, I was, 7, 8, 9 years old or something. And we used to go, travel a lot with my parents. And as you know, well, if you're walking anywhere in America or England in a park and somebody crosses you, you give a smile and say, "Oh, what a nice day." That completely stopped for me because I was living in Moraltown. I used to go to Moraltown Park for a walk. And at that time, I started playing tennis and all that. And that is the time. Since that time till now, I am an arrogant, proud sort of a person. Nobody can talk to me because I have this frown, permanent frown on my face. And I'm just like, I don't talk to people because if I do, people will think I'm flirting with them. I'm not flirting with anyone. If I say, "Kya hal hai aapka? You all right? You look good. Your shoes are nice." God, it's all gone. So, main ek badtameez and stubborn and bure mood. I'm always in a bad mood. Oh, she's always in a bad mood. Don't go near her. That is a persona I have created.
Sure, and
I
here
don't want people to. So,
Maria, here in the West, we've created a term for that.
Done to you.
Yeah, we've created a term for that, and I think you might like it. It's called resting bitch face. Right? I mean, that's what. And I'm just going to come out to kind of follow up on that. One of the reasons, like, I am loving Corona and having to wear a mask. I'm absolutely loving it because guess what? Then I don't talk to anybody. Nobody's talking to me. I don't have to, like, in the U.S., like, I get tired of talking to people. I get tired of it because it's like everything you do or say is wrong, and then you're just going to end up in some viral video. So I'm happy for it. So I really appreciate your perspective on this. I think it's been absolutely amazing.
Maria, you're saying that's just a facade? I should not take that seriously?
I've always flirted with you, Faisal. Come on.
Here's something.
Yeah.
I do want to just take a look at this comment really quickly.
You're going to make him jealous. He's really competitive,
Women will just look at you in the eyes and flirt in a subtle way, and that's fine. You know what? Listen. If you're looking at me, if you're looking at me, and I say, "Oh, she's flirting me," that's 100% on me. Like, why am I walking around thinking everybody's flirting with me? Men, listen, men, women, you're not as important as you think you are. Not everybody wants to have sex with you. Period. End of discussion. Put your head down, put your nose to the grindstone, shut the fuck up, and do your thing. Like, stop worrying about everybody else. It's so dumb.
We need to call it a night, but before we go, two things. I think this topic needs more attention.
Absolutely.
So, Maria, if you're up for it tomorrow night, we can continue earlier. If you're okay with that.
No, I'm working, so maybe.
Well, when you're done.
Next week sometime. No,
Sure.
I'll be working today.
Okay.
I also want to say one of the main reasons that this happens in our society. Sorry, it's just the last line because I also.
No, please take your time.
Please.
Dennis has to jump on here. Go on.
because we in our system we are stopped from asking questions, stupid or intelligent questions. Just don't ask. Even if you want to say the darnest things, like the kids say, we are taught not to ask, so we don't know. So we don't know how to protect ourselves, and because our parents are also like that, they've not taught you how to protect yourself. So basically, there are no problems to deal with because we're not voicing them.
Yeah, I completely agree. And the reason I was laughing is because I was going to just make a snide remark, Maria, and just say that you just need to be quiet and do what you're told. So.
Okay. Oh, sorry.
But but you see, this is what I think. I think all we're talking about is perspective, and regardless of to tell anybody that type of a comment, I mean, it's rude, and we shouldn't be doing it to men or women. And I'm just going to come out and say, I think it's one thing when if this happens to people in the workplace, when you do it to children, it's dead effing wrong. Period. You should go to prison for that, and just throw away the key because there is no hope for you. In the workplace, I think we need to learn to navigate this, and I think really the easiest way for us to do that is when we just stop looking at each other as some sort of piece of meat. When we start looking at somebody, and you were off the air. I even said to Fessel, I said, hey, you know what you said? You said she's beautiful. You said she's smoking hot. You said this. And I said, oh, and you said, and she's also smart. I'm just simply saying, from a matter of human respect, let's start off with what people are really about before we talk about their appearance. Oh, she's really smart. She's really intelligent. She does this for a living, and she's very pretty. I think that that's a much different perspective than focusing on one's appearance, because appearance changes. And I will just say,
they're deceptive.
I will just say, as I am approaching my 50th birthday.
I've known Maria a good 20.
Go ahead.
Sorry?
Dude, you're way hotter than you were young. You're way hotter now.
Hey, listen,
and
Maria, I know my hotness.
Years.
I like that.
I know how good looking I am.
Maria,
that's not up for dispute.
Maria, I've known for 15 years, and I've had a crush on her and I get 25. She becomes hotter every day, and more. I know.
I like that.
Yeah, but God, you're the hottest thing on TV right now.
I'm not offended by that.
But I think that I
love it.
I will just say, I think that one of the things we have to take into consideration is that not every woman is going to be as necessarily as confident or as strong.
No, let me add. She's hot, sexy, gorgeous, beautiful, stunning, amazing, and guess what? We interact a lot privately, and more I talk to her, I realize, wow, she is one smart girl. What a bonus!
Sure it is. Sure, and I think we're
That's
some of my
bonus, man. That's a bonus.
For me, where a lot of my frustration where this topic comes in, and why I say, gentlemen, you have to do better, is simply because, and I mean that, men, you have to do better. And the reason I say that is I have 3 nieces. I have 3 sisters. I have 3 nieces. I have a daughter-in-law. I have a wife. I have sister-in-law. So most of the people in my life are female. And I'm just going to say, I get really, really tired. I don't want my nieces, my young nieces, one is 18, the others are 8 and 5, and I'm probably going to get their ages wrong. You know what? I want them to grow up thinking that they're smart and intelligent people, and that they can make it without that their looks are really what are what's going to propel them. Because when we take it and we focus on intellect, when we focus on personality, when we focus on those things, now we're not going to set a situation into motion 20 years later where they're expecting for a man to go, hey, if you want the job, you have to suck on this, right? I mean, I want them to be looked at, viewed, treated better than the way I was taught to treat women. There it is.
All right.
Oh, wait.
Yeah.
Just because you have a certain way doesn't mean that's the only way. And just because one is being appreciated for the way they look does not mean
Don't
they're
play your
being
devil's
treated-
advocate
Does
bullshit.
not
saying
mean
that.
I'm being
What
right.
person
Does
is
not
saying-
mean they're being treated poorly. And here's the comment: not every woman.
This sounds like you
will
trying to
accept it.
justify making flirty comments to people that don't want them.
No.
See,
No.
the way
Making
we are
a
talking,
flirty
it's
comment,
different.
making any comment to anybody who does not want it, screw the flirty part.
Sure.
Any comment to anybody who doesn't want it is a no-no. So
Absolutely.
Bushra says
And
not every
there's
woman will be
one thing
receptive.
more, yeah.
Why, her loss if she's
Yeah,
not
exactly.
receptive.
Yes.
Her loss,
Yeah.
man.
The other thing is that what Faisal is saying about me is not the absolute. That is how he sees me. Maybe,
Thank
some
you.
other people, a lot of other people don't see me like that.
Right.
They may not like me. They might not even like my personality. They might not like my looks and the way I am. So, it's not absolute, it's different. Look, I think I have almost cracked the code. The first thing, the problem is, for all these problems, we have to redefine and explain what respect is. We
Yes.
have to teach ourselves and our children how to respect themselves. When you will define respect, it will come in every thing in your life, every aspect. So it's about that. You have to respect yourself. Once you
Yes.
start doing that, you will respect all the other people around you. You will respect what justice is. You will disrespect, when justice is not being done. You will
Yeah.
disrespect, of anybody who's lying. You have to teach these things, and that starts with an individual respecting. If I respect myself, I will not cross that line, and I will not say those words that I do not want to hear. You know,
Absolutely.
and
Okay.
other problems, like whatever if, example, I'm not confident about something, or I'm like, I have complexes. So then there should be, groups and people we can deal with that. That's a later thing, but that should be the absolute for anyone,
I
and
fully
anything
agree.
starts with that's your family.
I fully agree with you, but I'm going to add just one thing on it. Um, Respect, yes, but the bottom line and the epitome of this all is you need to let the whole world understand. Say no when you mean no.
Yes.
Say yes when you
That's
mean
respect.
yes. And
Yes.
for the other party, when somebody says no, that is a no. And when
Yes.
somebody says yes, that is the only time it's a yes. Silence is neither a no nor a yes. On that note, it's
Yeah.
really running late. Maria, thank you so much for coming in. Guys, sorry we could not take some comments.
Maria, thank you so much.
And this discussion needs to continue. Maybe, Maria, next week, whenever it's good for you, or tomorrow
Yes,
late, whatever
lovely.
works. Thank you, everybody. Have a good one.
Many blessings. Take care.
I'll flirt with you next time.